It's my reset, walking head high, that's the preset. Got the J in the chair, you can breathe it. Exhale, we gon' turn that hurt into detail. It's my reset, new page, new frame, hit the refresh. If you made it to the screen, that's a big flex. Type here in the box, that's progress. That's progress. You've been carrying that weight since the group chat. Smiling in the pic, but you knew that. Heart say break, mind say keep going. Now you in the lobby and the lights start glowing. Edge laid, hoodie on, still holy. Tear stains on the sleeve, still cozy. Black girl doc with the big gold hoops. Say your name and the shame get loose. It's my reset, walking head high, that's the preset. The J in the chat, you can breathe it. Exhale, we gon' turn that hurt into detail. It's my reset, new page, new frame, hit the refresh. If you made it to the screen, that's a big flex. Type here in the box, that's progress. That's progress. We wave when we wade through the deep end. Hey. We brave when we break, then we deepen. Yeah. You're safe in the space when you log in. Drop one word for your check-in. Check-in. It's my reset, walking head high, that's the preset. The J in the chat, you can breathe it. Exhale, we gon' turn that hurt into detail. It's my reset, new page, new frame, hit the refresh. If you made it to the screen, that's a big flex. Type here in the box, that's progress. That's progress.
Welcome to the reset. Let me make sure my mic is working. Can y'all hear me out there? Okay. Looks like everything is good on my side, so I'm gonna keep it rolling. So, welcome. This is the Reset with Dr. J. This is where we take those WTF moments and we turn them into breakthroughs. All right. So, I didn't do an episode last week. I was super busy, and I traveled to Colorado because I was doing my TEDx practice, and so I was like, I can't take on all of this, and so I didn't do an episode last week. So if you're joining me this week, thank you, and yeah, that's what happened last week. So I was out there for a TEDx practice. So it was the full rehearsal, coaches, feedback, the whole thing. And I'm not gonna lie, it was hard. Okay. It taught me, more about doing hard things, when I expect that I can't. So, I feel like that's always a lesson that we can all take in. So I thought, why not do an episode about that? Because, especially because I just experienced it and I was like, whoa, this is hard. And I'm really glad that I went to do it in person because there was an option to do it via Zoom because I'm in Maryland and the talk is in Colorado. And so a little part of me was like, oh, you should just do it Zoom. But no, it's not the same. It's not the same at all. Like, I'm grateful for Zoom because we can reach each other from very far distances. But that experience, I would not have been able to grasp the things that I grasp and stand on the red dot and just feel more comfortable doing what I do. So, but here's what happened. So, like, I'm preparing to give a talk about working with hard things instead of fighting against them. So it's like, oh, you're doing what you talk about doing. We're working with the hard things, not against them if we can, right? So, in the process of getting ready for this talk, it actually forced me to practice what I preach, right? And I try to do that anyway, but there are some situations where it's like, oh, yeah, this is it. So the light bulb went off like, oh, yeah, this is exactly what you tell people all the time about doing hard things. So I'm really grateful when I get to notice it because sometimes it takes a minute for us to like slow down and actually notice, hey, I'm not where I used to be. Or, hey, I am doing what I said I would do. And that's like such a great moment for our brain and our bodies. So today I want to talk to you a little bit about like behind the scenes, not just to talk about me, but to talk about like what it actually takes to do the thing that you're scared to do. And so whether that is starting a business, making a big career move, having a conversation that you've been avoiding, or just showing up when you don't feel ready, right? That way it doesn't keep us stuck. That way it doesn't stop us from doing great things. So this is about you and whatever hard thing that you're working through. So apply it, to your life as we have this conversation. So let's go. Quick reminder, I am a licensed therapist, but I'm not your therapist. So these are always meant to be a conversation, not treatment. So if you're in a crisis, though, I need you to call or text 988. If you call 988 plus one, you will get somebody that is trained in military culture. And that part is important. So, and if you text, then, at least you get somebody that can help you right now. And so I always want to put that out there. I always say, like, these talks or these conversations that we have via a radio show can be the appetizer that you're like, oh, yeah, I'm ready for that full meal. And so I'm going to go find me a therapist or any part of mental wellness that is helpful because we believe in holistic care over here. Okay. So now that that part is out of the way, I always try to, do a disclaimer. If you're joining me live, go ahead and drop in the chat where you're coming from because I love to see the different locations that people tune in from. For me, I am in Virginia today, so I am visiting family and doing those things. So let me tell you what this TEDx is about. So it's on grief intelligence. So y'all know we talk about EQ and we talk about emotional intelligence. And I'm like, wait a minute. Let's talk about grief intelligence, right? Because who teaches us how to do that? The idea that we treat grief like something you just get over or you just push through or you just move past it. But what if, and honestly, anything hard in life, right? Like it isn't something to fight. But what if it's something to work with? So that's the message. And it connects to everything that I do in my work, helping people navigate trauma and loss and transition and hard seasons without pretending that those things are not happening. So here's what I didn't expect. Preparing to talk about working with hard things, actually forces me to do it. So that's the part that I think like it hits. Like logically we know like that's what we're getting ready to do. But it's just like a different moment when you're in it and it's like, oh, yeah, this connects with everything I do in my work and helping people navigate those things. It was like, oh, okay. Yep. So now I'm in it, and getting ready for something that is hard. So for me, I've experienced like rewriting the talk and practicing it in front of people, getting feedback. When I think that something, I might have like the great idea, and then I go tell it to a couple people and they're like, I don't understand what you mean. And then in my head, I'm like, oh, I thought it was clear, and so that is humbling for certain. And so it's not bad though. It's not bad. We have to go through those things, right? And have self awareness. I just want to make sure I was sharing my stream. But yeah, we have to have that self awareness, right? Because if we don't, then how do we get better? If I just think everything I say is great and everybody should listen to it, but it's not landing right, like, come on, I got to get it together. I got to do better. So, standing on that stage though, knowing like thousands of people might see it, it's uncomfortable. And I had to decide, am I going to fight the discomfort or am I going to work with it? Right. And that's where I think this applies to everyone listening because a lot of people are in the middle of something hard right now. And, maybe you're building something new or starting over or navigating loss or managing a transition that's just not going the way that you planned it, right? The question is, are you fighting it or are you working with it? And so I want to break that down a little bit more today into a couple lessons that I think I reflected on. And I'm hoping that it's going to be helpful for you as well. So, my first lesson that I want to go into is that you don't have to feel ready to start. And I struggle with this so much. That's why I'm like, yeah, this has got to be a lesson because I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not alone. So, the first thing I learned was that you don't have to feel ready to start. I applied and started to network and talk about my talk, knowing that I wasn't quite ready because I didn't know what to expect. And we can, be as prepared as we can, but it doesn't mean that we're like officially ready, right? So I did that. I did have something written, but it wasn't like the talk written. And so I didn't know exactly what I'd say, or I just knew that my message mattered. And I've been building it piece by piece ever since. I did do like public speaking classes and things like that helped kind of like build the framework, but it still didn't compare to actually writing the talk. So building it piece by piece is really important because it keeps it relevant, it keeps it real, it keeps it you. And some days like I like to sit and work on it and it flows, and then other days I'm staring at the screen and I'm like, I got nothing. So, here's the thing though. If I were to like wait to feel ready, that's a trap, because I can keep waiting and waiting and waiting, and I still may not feel ready. You're never, I'm trying to think of how, like, if I should say it like this, but I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it anyway. You'll never be 100% ready for the thing that scares you. You'll never be 100%, I'm gonna say it twice, okay? You'll never be 100% ready for the thing that scares you. If it's big enough to matter, it's big enough to make you doubt yourself. So you have to move anyway. And here's what that looks like in real life. You don't wait until you feel ready to start the business. You start before the plan is perfect, and you keep shaping it and molding it into what you need it to be or to what works for you. You don't wait to feel ready to have the hard conversation. How many, of us are in these relationships where relationships, every relationship that you can think of in your life, it could be parental or siblings or whatever, right? How many of us, maybe sometimes don't know what to say, so we avoid the hard conversation. We don't have to feel ready to have the hard conversation. Most likely, it's going to connect us a little bit better. Most likely, we're going to end up dealing with some stuff, if we go ahead and have it. But you don't have to know exactly what to say. You don't have to feel ready to make the move. You just make it, even though the timing isn't perfect. Because a lot of times we don't have a perfect time. Readiness doesn't come before action. It comes during the action. You get ready by doing the thing, not by thinking about it. So if we're waiting, for the fear to go away, then we're not moving. And that's what we want. We want to be moving. And I see it all the time with the people that I work with, the veteran who's been thinking about starting a business for 2 years, but they're still waiting to feel ready. The person who knows they need to leave the relationship, but they're waiting for the perfect moment, and then years go by. The entrepreneur who has been sitting on this idea and just waiting for the pieces to fall in place. They're all waiting for a feeling that's never coming. So here's the shift. Stop asking, do I feel ready? Start asking, what's the smallest step I can take today? I always tell people, if like this is your goal point and this is where you are, what steps are you going to take to get there? That's what keeps us moving, right? Because it could just be a tiny little step that moves us in the right direction. That's how we build momentum. Not by waiting, by moving. So if you're listening live, drop in the chat one thing that you've been waiting to feel ready for. So think about that. A lot of us are waiting for something. So let's stop waiting. Let's take the first step, because again, readiness follows action, not the other way around. I hear people talk about that all the time too when it comes to like the gym or like motivation. I don't know if y'all listen to things like that, but I do. A lot of times motivation is just not real in that moment because you don't feel like it. So if you keep waiting for motivation, you're not going to go. But you tap into that discipline. It's like, all right, I need to go. I'm going to go. I don't want to go, but I'm going anyway. Like that type of vibe, then you get further. So that's lesson 1. That kind of wraps that part up. So it's talking about you don't have to feel you don't have to feel ready to start. That wraps that one up. So let's go to lesson number 2. All right. Feedback is a gift, even when it stings. I have to remind myself about this a lot. Feedback is a gift. Feedback is a gift. Feedback is a gift. I remember working at the military hospital, Walter Reed, and I would get the feedback or the evaluations every year. And of course, they're always going to pick something that you need to improve. It doesn't matter how excellent of a job you're doing. So that would always get to me a little bit. But when I started to think about feedback as a gift, it started to be more inspirational, knowing that they're always going to pick something that you need to work on. So if I look at it as a gift, I start getting a little bit creative. Okay, so they gave me this piece of feedback. How can I make that happen? Or what ways do I need to operate to make that happen? Even when it stings, right? Because sometimes we don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear that feedback. But if we think of it as a gift, maybe we can digest it a little bit better. So out in Colorado, I practice my TEDx in front of coaches and the other speakers. And they gave me feedback. And some of it was really great. And some of it was hard to hear. So that part is not clear. You're rushing through, this important part. And then maybe later thinking about like, oh, the story's not landing, the way I think it does. And those moments are hard because you work very hard on something and then you're like, wait a minute, you don't think that's clear? Because it was clear to me. It doesn't matter if it's clear to you, right? You want your talk to land. So learning that, I'm like, okay, I'm taking it all in. I'm writing it. Feedback is a gift. I'm digesting it. I'm sitting with it. And in that moment, it's really hard to do that because I worked on it. I thought it was good. But here's the thing. I know I can't see my own blind spots. And we all have blind spots. I'm too close to it, right? So I know what I mean to say, but that doesn't mean that it's landing in the way that I think it is. And that's why we need other people's feedback, right? So I need people that's going to tell me the truth. I don't want people, just telling me what I want to hear. So, I try to surround myself with people who are going to tell me the truth. And that should be true for whatever you're doing, right? So if you're building a business, then you need people who tell you when your pitch isn't clear, when your product doesn't solve the problem that you think it does, when you're overcomplicating it. If you're leading a team, if you're a leader, you need people who will tell you when your communication isn't landing, when your expectations are not clear, when you're creating problems that you can't see, because we all have our blind spots. If you are navigating a hard personal situation, you need people who will tell you when you're avoiding the real issue, when you're making excuses, when you're playing it small because you got more to give. We need people that are going to tell us that. And I don't know about you, but I really appreciate it when somebody is telling me these kind of things, because that is then it becomes my job to grow. I got a new mission. I got to, complete this, or I got to improve the way I'm saying this, or whatever, right? Like we all can use some sort of improvement if we want to, right? It's still a choice. So here's where I think people mess it up. I think that they are, or I won't even say I think, right? Because I've dealt with people. That's my job. I deal with people every day, every week, for many years. So here's what I see. I'll word it that way. They either avoid feedback entirely, or they only listen to people that'll tell them what they want to hear. And the thing about it is that both are going to keep you stuck. So don't do that. So here's what works though. Find people that care about you enough to tell you the truth. Not tear you down though, because we don't need people that are going to do it in a way that it tears us down. They need to do it in love, right? It needs to make you better. And when you get that feedback that stings, because you just might, sit with it. Don't react, don't defend, just sit with it and ask yourself, okay, is there any truth here? Even if I don't like what was said, is there any truth here? Because that feedback that makes you uncomfortable is usually the feedback that you need the most. So think about that. So if you're listening, think about it. Who in your life tells you the truth, even though it's hard to hear? And if you don't have that person, you want to think about that. Why don't you? Are you the person that just doesn't want feedback at all? Are you the person that only wants feedback when it's something that you want to hear? Think about it. Find your truth tellers. They're the ones that's going to help you grow. Okay? So that wraps up lesson number 2. That feedback is a gift, even if it stings a little bit. Okay? Lesson number 3. Perfection kills progress. Listen, this one had to really sit with myself on because I am a perfectionist. I do like for things to be perfect. It's not realistic. So I switched, thinking about perfection a little bit to like, okay, I can't be perfect, but I can still strive for excellence. So that's what I try to do. But perfection, it will kill your progress. I have rewritten, going back to my talk, I've rewritten parts of this talk probably 15 times. And every time I rewrite it, there's a voice in my head that says, that's not good enough yet. But here's what I know. It'll never feel perfect. Because perfect doesn't exist. And if I wait for it to be perfect, I will never give this talk. And so the same thing happens with everything else, right? People don't start the business because the plan isn't perfect yet. They don't launch the thing because the website isn't perfect yet. Talking to myself on this one. They don't have the conversation because they don't know exactly what to say. Last month, I just experienced a loss. I lost my nanny. That's my dad's mom. And she was 102 years old. And so I got, this flood of messages coming in. And it was very beautiful how, like, the support that I got from other people, flowers, calls, all of that, right? Because one thing that happens going back to grief is that we don't know what to say. So we don't say anything. And that could be worse if we don't say anything. Even if someone's like, I don't know what to say because you're hurting, that makes me feel good. Like I feel acknowledged, at least, that you don't know what to say. So going back to the conversation piece, you don't have to know exactly what to say. Or somebody could not make that move because the timing isn't perfect, Is there ever going to be a perfect time? So waiting for perfect might mean that we wait forever. And I mean, who's willing to do that? Because I'm not, So you have to think about that. Here's the truth. Done and imperfect beats perfect and never started. So I'm going to say that again. Done and imperfect beats perfect and I never started. Every single time. I see this with the clinicians that I train. They want to wait until they're perfect at EMDR before they use it with clients. So for those who don't know, EMDR is a therapy technique. It treats trauma. It's eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. So we call it EMDR but it helps people move through their trauma. And I help to coach and train folks that have learned that modality. And a lot of times they don't get started. So when we're having like a consultation call where we're meeting up to talk about how things are going, A lot of times they don't get started because they want it to be perfect before they get started. And actually, when we're treating trauma or we're talking about mental health, it gets a little messy. So it's not going to be perfect. You don't get better by waiting. You get better by doing it messily, imperfectly, and learning as you go. And the same thing with entrepreneurs. You don't launch the perfect product. You launch version 1.0. You get feedback. You improve. That's how this works. Same thing in relationships. You see the theme here, right? Same thing in relationships. You don't have the perfect conversation. You have the real one, even if it's a mess. The shift. Stop asking, is it perfect? Start asking, is it good enough? Is it good enough to move forward? Because good enough gets you in motion, and motion creates that momentum. And that's what we want. Perfection keeps you stuck. So here's what I want you to do. Think about something that you've been sitting on that's not perfect yet. And I'm talking to myself too, y'all. That's why I'm smiling, because I'm like, I know exactly what I'm thinking about. The project, the conversation, the decision, the launch. Now ask yourself, what if I just did it anyway? What's the worst that could happen? I have a good therapist friend that says, what's the best that could happen? You learn, you adjust, you improve, but at least you're moving. So, if you're listening live, go ahead and drop in the chat one thing that you're not doing because it doesn't feel perfect yet. I'm going to challenge you. Drop that in the chat. A lot of perfectionism is holding people back, y'all. Don't let it be you. Let it go. Done beats perfect every time. So, that wraps up lesson 3, talking about perfection and how that kills progress. I just had my business coach get on me, what was it, last week? Yeah, last week. Time is funny, moving funny when you're busy. But it hit because it's like, dang, I'm doing that thing. And I didn't even think I was doing it. He was like, hey, so what's up? You got your nonprofit paperwork. When's the launch? And I'm like, well, I got to do this first. And I want to make sure the website has the right colors and, this and that. Whew, y'all, I had every excuse. And I wasn't really making excuses. There were reasons. I shouldn't say excuses. There were reasons. But all of the reasons led back to perfection. And what do you know? Here's that lesson popping up, for me. Oh, you haven't done it because you're waiting for it to be perfect. Oh, okay. So who's not practicing what they preach, right? So I had to do a little self-check there. By the way, launch coming up. Launching a nonprofit that I want to help my military folks with. My fellow military folks and people that help military as well, because that's my passion. That's what I love to do. Military, mental health, mental wellness, however we can get it. Last year I tried to do a retreat, and what I wanted was the retreat to be covered so that I could take my vets with me and we just have a nice reset. We have a little like personal development, but more fun is what I wanted, because I think sometimes after so much life has happened that we forget to live. And so that was what I wanted to do, but it didn't work out because I didn't attract that many people, and just so much was going on in the world too. So I decided to pull back and regroup, and that's when I'm like, oh, I'm going to do a nonprofit because there are people who believe in this mission. And I named it after my late daughter. So I'm going to be launching that soon because I have been working really hard on that. And it is going to help my vets and their mental wellness. And it's going to make sure that my clinicians know how to really help those vets mental health wise. So it's in the works. It's coming. But this lesson number 3 that, I don't have to be perfect to launch it. Whew, y'all gonna see that happen in real time, okay? So let's get to the last lesson, lesson 4. The thing that you're avoiding is probably the thing that matters most. This happens for so many people. And again, I'm not just talking, I'm including myself in all of this, right? So let's talk about that more. I'm going to repeat it. The 4th thing, and this is usually the hardest, the part that you're avoiding is probably the part that matters the most. So for me, it's the personal story in my talk. So remember, I'm going to go into some personal things about myself. The part about my daughter, Jordan. The part about losing her, that's my own grief with congenital heart disease, for those that don't know. That's the hardest part to practice because it's the part I want to skim over. But that's also the part that makes the message real. Why is this woman talking about grief? What does she know? I know it firsthand. It hurts, and we can't stay stuck. I do know that part too. So I think that's the part of the message that makes it real, because people don't connect with theories, they connect with truth. And the truth is always in the part that you don't necessarily want to say. Yeah. I see that, all the time in my work. The client who doesn't want to talk about the thing that's actually bothering them, but that's the thing that we need to talk about. The leader that doesn't want to have the hard conversation with their team, that's a conversation that needs to happen. Go have that talk, The entrepreneur who keeps putting off the part of the business that scares them, that's usually the part that'll move the needle. So, yeah, those are the things that I think, common themes that we see popping up. But here's why we avoid it. Because it's vulnerable. It's raw, it's risky, it's the part that could go wrong, right? And I think it's also the part that could change everything. So, an example, you're avoiding the conversation with your partner about what's really not working, because if you say it out loud, you might just have to do something about it. Another example, you avoid asking for that raise or that promotion or that opportunity because if they say no, then you got to deal with that. You're avoiding launching the thing because if it fails, you'll have to face that you tried and it didn't work. So I told y'all about the retreat I tried to do last year. And I said exactly what I felt like. I was like, dang, I did go through the launch and all the stuff. And then I'm like, dang, I tried it and it didn't work. I think I had like 2 signups and not enough funds to like cover their trip like I wanted to. So I'm like, all right, back to the drawing board, right? But it did not feel good to do that. So, but we can't keep like avoiding it because then we're never going to get to there. So again, if the goalpost is here and I'm here, what kind of steps am I going to take to get there? So here's what happens though if you keep avoiding it. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. You stay stuck. The relationship stays broken. The opportunity passes. Somebody else got that opportunity now, The idea stays stuck in your head. Somebody else took the idea, but maybe had the same idea and they went running. When you're looking at it later, like, whoa, wait a minute, I had that idea. So we don't want that to happen. That doesn't feel good. We can avoid that. All of that's avoidable. I don't have to stay stuck. the shift. Stop avoiding the hard part. Face it. Not because it's comfortable, because it's real. The other side of that thing is growth. And that's what you want. So here's the question. What are you avoiding right now? What's the conversation, the decision, the action that you keep pushing to the side? That's probably the thing you need to do. So think about that. And be honest with yourself. It doesn't help us to not be honest with ourselves. When I was in the Army, they used to say, for the exercises and stuff like that, don't cheat yourself. Don't cheat yourself. Finish that. For that exercise, finish that. So again, same thing applies here. Be honest with yourself. What's one thing that you're avoiding that you know you need to face? You know it. Your brain knows it. Your body knows it. That's your next move. Hell, get started with it this week if you can, not next month. One of the things my coach said about this launch coming up, he's like, so we're going to wait like 3 or 4 months? And I had to laugh because I'm like, dang, it has been, like, time has passed with me trying to do this. And so I'm like, no, we're not waiting 3 or 4 months. Matter of fact, in the next 2 weeks, this is what you're going to see from me. And I took my accountability. I wrote it down. I made it a plan, not a dream. It started as a dream, but now it's a plan. I got work to do. Okay. So that's pretty much wraps up the 4th lesson. And I hope that this is helpful for you all as you're thinking through just life in general. The thing that you're avoiding, it probably matters the most. We have to sit with that. We have to digest it. We have to kind of figure out where do I need this to apply in my life? And, hopefully you start to see things change. Now, we might not see big monumental changes right away, but you may see a little bit here, a little bit there, and you're just moving. And that's what we want. We want the movement, not the perfection. Okay? So those are the 4 points that I came up. So let me bring it all together for you. Whatever hard thing that you're working on right now, start something. End something. Navigate something. Whatever applies to you. Here's what I want you to know. You don't have to feel ready. Actually, move before you're ready. This applies to whatever areas you want to apply it to. Readiness comes from doing, not from waiting. Feedback is a gift. Find people who will tell you the truth. And listen. Listen, even though it stings. Done beats perfect. Stop waiting for it to be flawless. Good enough gets you moving. And face the thing that you're avoiding. The part that scares you is probably the part that matters the most. If you do these 4 things, you're going to get through the hard thing. Not perfectly, though, or even painlessly, because that's not real. We will go through some things, right? But you'll get through it. And you'll get through it on the other side, and you'll be stronger and smarter and more capable, right? That's what post-traumatic growth is all about. We don't go back to like the starting point. Or we don't go backwards. We move through it and we're better for it. So when you think of it that way, maybe that hard thing is worth doing because you're going to be better for it, right? If you think about going to the gym and you just started, it's hard. It is hard. And the next day you are sore. So it's like, dang, I did something good for myself and now I'm hurting. Now I got to deal with the hurt. I don't want to go back. But guess what happens if you keep going back? You get stronger. You don't hurt as much. And you start to see your body changing and stuff. And your strength and your endurance and your capabilities and stuff. And it's like, whoa, wait a minute. I feel good. And it's because you kept going and you came out on the other side. So that's what working with hard things looks like. Not fighting them. Not pretending like they're not there or being oblivious to them, right? We're moving through them with intention. And that's what matters. That's what's going to keep us moving and growing. And we're going to look back and be like, dang, look at how far I have come. I did all of this. And we're going to be really proud of ourselves. So before I go, I want to say this. These last few weeks, preparing for this talk, working with my own grief, showing up even when it's hard, it has all reminded me that we don't have to fight our hard moments to move through them. We can work with them. That's what I'm bringing to the TEDx stage next month. That's what I teach in my work with my private practice. That's what I'm practicing right now. So if you want to follow this journey or learn about my work, you can just Google my site. You can go to bio.ariellejordan.com. And, take care of yourself. This week, do the hard thing. Resilience is not optional. It is the mission. I'm Dr. J, and you got this. This is the Reset with Dr. J, where we take those WTF moments and we turn them into breakthroughs. I'm going to log out. On the next screen, you're going to see a bunch of shows that WTF Nation Radio does. I want you to check out those other shows as well. And then join me next Sunday at 12 o'clock. And let's do another reset. Y'all have a good day.
This my reset, walking head high, that's the preset. Got the J in the chair, you can breathe it. Exhale, we gon' turn that hurt into detail. This my reset, new page, new frame, hit the refresh. If you made it to the screen, that's a big flex. Type here in the box, that's progress. That's progress. You've been carrying that weight since the group chat. Smiling in the pic, but you knew that heart say break, mine say keep going. Now you in the lobby and the lights start glowing. Edge laid, hoodie on, still holy. Tear stains on the sleeve, still cozy. Black girl doc with the big gold hoops. Say your name and the shame get loose. This my reset, walking head high, that's the preset. The J in the chat, you can breathe it. Exhale, we gon' turn that hurt into detail. This my reset, new page, new frame, hit the refresh. If you made it to the screen, that's a big flex. Type here in the box, that's progress. That's progress. We wave when we wave. wade through the deep end. We brave when we break, then we deepen. You safe in the space when you log in. Drop one word for your check-in. It's my reset, walking head high. That's the preset. The J in the chat, you can breathe it. Exhale, we gon' turn that hurt into detail. It's my reset, new page, new frame, hit the refresh. If you made it to the screen, that's a big flag. Type here in the box, that's progress. That's progress.